We're going to be talking about some secret patterns that I think you guys should be paying attention to that will help predict a major move. So, this is not chasing after green candles on the day of, but actually a lot lower risk setup that I personally are more interested in after 5+ years of trading. We're also going to be talking about the major bullish indicator that is happening right now in the markets. I've been talking about this indicator for quite some time. It is the S&P 500, and it has actually just made all-time highs. Why is this important? Because it's highly correlated with Bitcoin, which is the main driver of the crypto markets. If Bitcoin pumps, that is good for the altcoins, and if Bitcoin dumps, that would be very bad for the altcoins, and that's why you guys should be paying attention to these indicators. We're also going to be talking about some altcoin setups and their price targets later in this video, usually after the 10-minute mark. If you guys want to skip ahead, I highly recommend that you guys don't, because when I trade altcoins, I have the Bitcoin chart in the back of my head. Because if Bitcoin dumps, those setups are not going to be, it's not going to be worth much. Okay. So we're going to be talking about Litecoin. We're going to be talking about Aerodrome. We're also going to be talking about Zebec Network, ZBCN, later in this video. So make sure to be staying around for that. But right now, let's dive into some major crypto news. First piece of news here. This is by News BTC. Is the Bitcoin top in? Bitcoin MVRV score has the answer. So I'm not really sure what the MVRV is, but my personal opinion is that the Bitcoin top is not in. More likely than not. Okay. Because I'll show you guys later in the charts right now, but Bitcoin has been running within some pretty bullish consolidation here, and with the S&P 500 actually just broke above its all-time highs. In my opinion, it's a pretty nice and clean break here, and I'll tell you guys why in just a bit. So my opinion is that the Bitcoin top is more likely than not, it is not in. Okay, I'm not really sure what the MVRV is. That's not one of the indicators I use. I'll talk about the indicators I use to you guys just in a bit. This is by Cointelegraph. Bitcoin price starts normal and healthy support test at 108K halts bulls. Yes, I do agree that 108K is the current resistance right now before a breakout here. Okay, so this is the test for Bitcoin bulls. If we're actually able to break above this resistance range, that could take Bitcoin to some pretty crazy highs here. Now, I am bullish across the board for crypto. I trade Bitcoin, I trade Litecoin, Ethereum, some of the bigger altcoins, and as well as a lot of these smaller altcoins. And I am long right now. So this is my opinion and speculations only, okay? None of what I'm saying here is financial advice, of course. Do your own due diligence. But, once you actually learn technical analysis and be able to read the charts and just pick up a chart and be like, okay, this chart looks good and this chart does not look good. And I will be able to actually read quite a bit of the markets here without, without emotions being attached to what the story behind the coin is. Okay, let's go on to the next one. This is by News BTC. 179,000 or 79,000 Bitcoin faces critical cycle pivot, says analysts. So I've looked at some bearish arguments for this, and I think one of them, I'm not going to mention any names, is that I there was a bear with some pretty big followers on Twitter or X. that says we're in a we're in a rising wedge, um, and that we are going to be heading to about 80,000. So first of all, I disagree with the chart that was put up. And this is actually it's not a rising wedge, because I don't see a rising wedge on the higher time frames. I see a cup and handle, and I see a falling wedge within that cup and handle. So both are bullish consolidation patterns. I have a price target for Bitcoin, which is 145,000. And after we get to 145,000 and it consolidates there, I will chart the consolidation pattern and see if I get a new price target to see if we can actually get towards 179,000. But I think that's very possible and are in the cards based on the monthly RSI reading here. We're almost nowhere near a FOMO RSI reading here. Okay. So that means altcoins will also have a lot of time to run as well. Okay, just to add that. Next piece of news, crypto news. Building trust with US regulators is essential for advancing crypto adoption. Yes, that's very true, because if it becomes more mainstream, then it's easier to weed out a lot of these scams, especially with the past 5 years. Over 5 years of trading, I've seen quite a bit of drama. The last one was with FTX, of course. That was crazy. So yeah, building trust with U.S. regulators is definitely bullish for crypto. All right, last piece of news here. This says it's by Cointelegraph. It says Wall Street buys over $1 billion in Bitcoin amid dollars do or die moment. I think that's definitely bullish for Bitcoin, as Wall Street, according to this piece here, is buying over $1 billion in Bitcoin. Okay. So that is my take on the news today. Let's come back here to the charts. Now, I just want to let you guys know that I pulled the news from TradingView. If you guys don't have TradingView, you guys should definitely get TradingView. You guys can get news, other traders sharing their ideas, and of course, most importantly, charts and indicators. I've been using TradingView for the past over 5 years of trading. I would not have been able to learn TA without it. Okay, I do have an affiliate link in the video description section below if you guys want to check it out and sign up. They have plans for under $20. If you guys use my link, I will get a commission, and that supports my channel, and thank you very much. Let's come back here to the charts here. Okay, we have some very bullish indicators that are flashing right now. This is the ES1, which is basically ES1 exclamation mark, the S&P 500 futures. Okay, why is this important? Because I've been talking about this indicator. Okay, it's highly correlated with Bitcoin, right? If it pumps, it's very likely that this is gonna bring Bitcoin up. Okay, and Bitcoin as being as close to the all-time highs right now, I think this will highly increase the chance of a Bitcoin breakout. So what I'm talking about here and what I'm seeing here is that we are already at all-time highs for S&P 500. It already broke. Okay, last all-time high I saw was about 6160, and now we're at almost 6190. This is a clean break here. What I'm talking about is I'm not just looking at a higher high on the price action chart, but on the RSI here as well. This is the daily time frame. We have an RSI reading of about 68. If we compare it with the previous high here of with the RSI reading of about 61, we already surpassed that. Okay, so that shows me that the bullish move here, there is strength. Let's come over here to the 3-day time frame, where we're still making a higher high comparing to the previous higher high here, on February 14th. Okay, we have 4 more days, over 4 days to actually close this 3-day candle. So I'm not too concerned with that just yet, because I'm looking at the RSI reading here as well, and I'm looking for a clean break, so without divergence, because divergence usually tells you that there's going to be a reversal signal. Weekly time frame, which closes tomorrow. That is something I'll be looking out for, because you definitely don't want to see divergence on this weekly time frame candle close here. Currently, we're at about an RSI reading of about 61, but we're looking to beat an RSI reading of about 62 here. Okay, so we have about 2 days, right, to actually close this weekly candle with strength on the RSI. Okay, that is something to be looking out for, because you don't want to see divergence. Let's come over here to Bitcoin. Now, I think very possibly Bitcoin is going to be following the S&P 500 trajectory here. Okay, this is the weekly time frame. If we're actually able to break 110K again, right, then it's very likely that this is going to be a breakout for this cup and handle pattern, which is basically has a price target of about $145. I mean, 145K. Okay. Now, of course, price targets are estimates only. It could be more, it could be less. Okay, and let's kind of zoom in here and see if we can get a little bit more clarity on what Bitcoin is doing. Okay, we are very close to the top of this, this upper trend line of this cup and handle pattern and this falling wedge pattern. Okay, so I think traders are a little bit more jittery right now, because they're suspecting that this could be a top. But given that the S&P 500 has actually just broke out and they have high correlation, I think this is very possible for Bitcoin to actually break out here. Okay. And if we actually break out of this falling wedge pattern, which usually breaks to the upside, price target is going to be about 120K. Okay. And of course, that takes it out of the cup and handle pattern. Let's come over here and talk about some altcoins. Okay. Now, Aerodrome, Aero USD. Let's see what's going on in this market here. It's still trying to get above the daily 200 SMA. Okay. Last time I've talked about this market, it has actually broke down from this rising wedge pattern, which usually breaks down. However, it looks like the breakdown target of this pattern is about 67 cents. Is it still going to get there? There's still a chance. However, I'm looking for some candle closes, some solid candle closes above this breakdown point, which is about 87 cents. Okay, if we start getting candle closes above 87 cents, then I would consider this breakdown to be invalidated. Okay, and that we're probably not going to get to that breakdown target of about 67 cents. Now let's come over here and zoom out for Aerodrome. And what I'm looking at here on a higher time frame is this weekly time frame here, this falling wedge pattern, which is a pattern you guys should definitely be paying attention to, because it's very common. I think it's actually one of the most common patterns, or probably the most common pattern in the charts, because it tells you after a significant extensive downtrend here, chances are it's going to reverse. And for Aerodrome here, if it actually breaks out of this pattern, the price target is about $4.25. That's still quite a bit of a big target for this bigger altcoin. Let's come over here to ZBCN. What's going on in this market? I actually have a long in this market right now. I recently opened a long in ZBCN at about 42 cents. Okay, so I'm taking a little bit of a loss right now, but if Bitcoin actually pulls through, I think I'm gonna be in it for some gains. Okay, I'm looking to take a short-term profit from ZBCN here, because I am trading leverage. And let's see what's going on with this market here. So I've talked about this weekly time frame. Okay, cup and handle pattern, usually breaks to the upside. It did break to the upside. This time, it went up way above its price target of about 0.39 cents here, okay? Went to about 0.72 cents before dropping all the way down, basically halved of that, right? We're at 0.36 cents now. Let's take a look into a smaller time frame here, daily time frame, falling wedge pattern, usually breaks to the upside, okay? Still gotta mind the downside risk that it breaks to the downside, of course, and if it does, I would rechart the pattern and see what's going on then. If you guys want to continue seeing any more of Aerodrome, ZBCN, or any other coins you guys want to see, make sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe, letting me know what you guys want to see. I'll pick one of you guys, pick a request to do on a daily basis for you. Now, ZBCN here, falling wedge pattern. If it breaks out by this point here, just for example, it's going to give a price target of about 0.65, 0.66 cents, okay? If it reaches that price target, I would come back here and chart the consolidation pattern and see if it will continue upwards or downwards. Now, it is trying to get above some daily moving averages as resistance right now, including the daily 21 SMA. You don't want to lose that daily 50 SMA because then you're going to have to try to get over it again, right? However, if it does come back down here to about 0.35 cents, it's likely that you're going to get a double bottom with bullish divergence. Something to be watching out for, right? And of course, if it breaks down, then we're going to come back here and rechart the pattern. That's basically what I'm looking at for ZBCN, Zebec Network Litecoin here. Let's take a look into what's going on. Hasn't done too much. One of the biggest altcoins here, of course. This is what I'm looking for for Litecoin. Okay, this falling wedge pattern still valid. Okay, weekly time frame. Okay, price target still about $190 almost. Falling wedge pattern within this bigger one. Okay, it broke out of that. Okay, price target for the smaller one within this bigger one. It's gonna be about $123. Price target still valid pattern, still valid breakouts. Let's zoom in a little bit. Daily time frame. Also a smaller falling wedge pattern. Like I said, this is the most common pattern that you guys will see that you should also pay attention to because it will give you a very good idea of a reversal. Falling wedge price target is going to be about $102 out of the smallest one here. So let's see what Litecoin does, but I think all of these coins are going to be dependent on what Bitcoin does. So this basically wraps it up for this video for today. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you guys on the next one. Make sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe. I'll get you guys up to speed on how I read the charts and how you guys can learn technical analysis.